Throughout Poland's history, the people were used to the threat of war. Their life was relatively ordinary when they went to sleep on August 31st, 1939. When they awoke, the lives of each and every Pole would be changed forever. Poland's people were about to begin an epic journey through horrific hardships, heartaches, and inhumane brutality.
The horrendous vision of the new order on the old continent had been prepared by Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf, a book which clearly stated what's about to happen to the Jews, Slavs, and where the Germans' Lebensraum, which is living space, was about to be created. On the 22nd of August, Hitler told his commanders to kill without pity or mercy all men, women, and children of Polish race or language. The war started on Friday, on the first day of September, at 4:45 a.m., when German battleship Schleswig-Holstein opened fire on the Polish peninsula Westerplatte. At 6 a.m., Warsaw, the capital city, was bombed without any warning. One of the most heroic feats during the first week of war, and during the war in general, was the defense of the Westerplatte peninsula. The Polish force, consisting of 200 troopers, who had only 160 rifles, 40 pistols, and 1,000 grenades, fought against 4,000 heavily armored Germans, supported by tanks, artillery, and aircraft, particularly Ju-87 Stuka planes. The Poles originally planned to fight for 6 hours, but they surrendered after 7 days, having lost 15 soldiers with 50 wounded, and killing from 300 to 400 Germans, wounding from 700 to 1,000.
Battle of Żura, also known as the Battle of Kutno to the Germans, ended in Polish defeat. It was the largest battle of the Polish campaign, during which more than 18,000 Polish troops and about 8,000 German troops were killed. German General Johannes Blaskowitz noted in his order of the day that his troops were fighting in one of the biggest and most destructive battles of all times.
The siege of Warsaw begins, the land phase, with the arrival of German units in the suburbs. The air bombardment had begun at the start of the campaign. The pocket at Radom is reduced by the 14th Army. The 24th September 1939, Warsaw, Poland suffered an air raid from over 1,000 German bombers. The next day, Warsaw, Poland suffered heavily Luftwaffe bombing and artillery bombardment, as Adolf Hitler arrived to observe the attack. Thousands of civilians died in the air raid. Warsaw also suffered internally, as the attacks left them without food and water.
Poland was invaded from the west by the 4th, 8th, and 10th armies. The German army had a well-planned strategy. They made progress by passing one army, for instance the Poznań army, and then encircling another Polish force, thus forcing the former army to do something impossible, to withdraw and fight at the same time.
The Battle of Wiesna lasted for 3 days. The Germans were forced to defeat the Poles one bunker at a time. It was the most heroic battle in Poland and was also called the Polish Thermopylae. 720 Polish soldiers faced 40,000 Germans, being outnumbered 56-1. Władysław Ragnus was the leader of the Poles, and he committed suicide rather than giving up to the Germans. The Battle of Modlin began on September 13, 1939, and the fortress was defended hardily by the Polish forces until its fall on the 29th of September. 35,000 Polish soldiers were forced to surrender when Modlin fell. Its anti-aircraft guns were credited with shooting down much of the Luftwaffe.
Hitler sent a message to the Soviet Union asking the Soviets to jointly invade Poland. On September 5, 1939, the Soviet Foreign Minister Yaroslav Molotov responded to the German invitation to jointly invade Poland in the positive, but noted that the Soviet forces would need several days to prepare. He also warned the Germans not cross the previously agreed-upon line, separating the German and Soviet spheres of influence. On September 18th, Russian forces reached Vilna from the east.
September 22, 1939, at Lvov, over 210,000 Poles surrendered to the Soviets, but at the Battle of Kojivsk, the Soviets suffered heavy casualties. Also on this day, the Soviet NKVD began gathering Polish officers for deportation.
On September 18, 1939, the Soviets and the Germans came together at Brest-Litovsk in eastern Poland. The Germans and the Soviets met here for a victory party, where they danced, they ate, and they agreed upon the line of demarcation. This was a very significant event, in part due to the inherent distrust and disdain the two groups held for each other.
In Warsaw, surrounded by German troops, the Polish army was ordered to the Romanian border to hold out until the Allies arrive. On 27th of August, the siege of Warsaw comes to an end as Polish forces surrender. German forces entered the city on October the 1st, and on October the 5th, the German parade was held in Warsaw.
On October 6, 1939, the Battle of Kotz ends with the surrender of defending Polish forces. This is the final significant military resistance to the German or Soviet invasions. On October 10, 1939, Hitler announces the victorious end to the Polish campaign and called on France and England to end the hostilities, which is ignored by both governments.
The defeat of 1939 was a terrible humiliation for the Polish nation, which barely a month earlier had had proud visions of triumphant victory with the aid of her powerful Western allies, but was now in the hands of Hitler and Stalin. The speed of the German victory in the campaign also left the Allies with a poor opinion of the ability of the Polish defenders.